How's the market in April 2024 in Wichita, Kansas is what we're going to be going over today. But before we get into all that stuff, please like, comment, subscribe, share. All those fun things really helps support this local small business and my dog Blue and my future family, hopefully, and all that. So I'm going to go over local trends first for our market here in Wichita, Kansas. Then I'm going to go over national trends. Within there, I'm going to be painting together some solutions to these problems, also clearly identifying the problems for you to understand the market from a national level, which is really large, but also a local level of the whole city of Wichita. Then obviously, if we need to get into your personal house, your personal neighborhood, all of those, specified micro level type of situations, then that's what requires more skilled agency work with commitment and services arranged and that kind of thing. So going to break it down from a big macro level. If you want to get micro, let me know, shoot me a message. Let's talk. There's plenty of ways to get a hold of me on here and research what we have there. And hopefully I can help you out in some way, shape, or form in the future. But let's go ahead and get it going. So first one I'm going to go over is our South Central Kansas MLS report. Just a real quick summary. The number of sales is down 9.7% in March compared to the prior year. So I'm reporting right now from April, but obviously we can only report on the past sales data. Right now, the month of April is still going on, so we can't collect all the data while it's going on. It's not that fast. The reports don't go that real time. So number of sales down 9.7%. Where else do we have this? So price point went up 6.8%. So number of sales down, price point up 6.8%. Average sale price of existing homes was $229. New construction sales had a decrease of 18%. So, and that's number of units. Don't confuse that with price, because price was actually up 4%. So if you want to look at that as 6.8% and 4% appreciation, depending on which bracket you're in, that's what appreciation looks like. And I know sometimes you can be saying like all the cost of everything's going up, things just cost more. That's what you want it to do. It's what it's supposed to do. It's why you buy real estate and wait. You don't wait to buy real estate. You buy it and it appreciates. And so that's where I know a lot of people are like, well, I'm waiting for the interest rates to go down or more inventory to come out. The longer you wait, the more it costs, and the longer you don't get to partake in appreciation, and the longer you don't get a house, and the longer you kick down the road all those lifestyle goals you're trying to achieve from your house. So there is a cost of waiting that comes with all this, but that gives you an idea of where the stats are at. That the Wichita market is steady and stable. Number of sales down, price point is up, which leads us to more of a constricted, constipated market is what I would call it. Which I know that's kind of a funny word to use, is constipated, but that's really how the market feels right now as far as number of sales are down, price points up. So it's constricted. Inventory, we have 1,303 units at the end of March, which is up from 1,059. So that's 1.7 months supply of homes. So we do have more listings, but that doesn't necessarily mean more listings are selling just because we have more listings. Let's look at a few more nerdy stats and graphs to give you a better visual representation of this. This kind of gives you an idea of the bell curve our market usually follows from spring to summer. For some reason, we had some weird blip in 2023 where our transactions dropped from 816 to 732, then up to 929. So sometimes the market does weird stuff like this where people don't actually close and sell houses. Especially I've seen this before, and it kind of feels like we're in that spot now, but I don't know until all of April's data comes out yet that there's more listings, but buyers are pickier than ever. People are hesitant. They're slow moving. There's just a lot of hesitation, fear, concern, panic, stagnation, constipation, to where it's kind of like people are active, but they're not necessarily buying houses. They're not necessarily writing contracts moving forward. So there is more inventory. There's more people looking, but that doesn't necessarily mean there's more transactions going on, because actually you can see from the data there's less transactions going on, even though the price is up. So even though you're seeing activity, it doesn't necessarily mean people are actually transacting on houses. So that's something to take into account when you look at this data. One other thing to point out in this data, if you look at the large majority of what goes on in Wichita, it's this $200,000 to $400,000 range. closed listings by price range, 16%, 14%, 14%. When you get up to 400,000 and above, you can see how much less of the market activity goes on there. And really each one of these price points is a market for all of Wichita, and then obviously for your neighborhood too. So studying the market, knowing the data, having reasonable expectations based on these numbers is really the key to understanding the mystery of real estate and all these things that come with it. And that's really what you get from me as a data provider, data scientist that looks at this and makes decisions based off of data, not just headlines or emotion or all those other things come with it. Like let's look at the facts, like what is actually happening in your price point, broken down so that we can understand clearly where the market's at, so that we understand the environment we're playing in with everything. There's a strategy that I use and I intend to continue to use for the rest of my life, which is basically buy and sell every 2-ish years, but it's going to be doing it around this $200,000 to $400,000 price point. So that's where just as you turn it over, keep turning it over, that's really where you get ahead with your personal house. It's what I do myself personally. It's what I coach my clients to do. And that's really where the meat of the market is, if you will. Some of these lower price points, they're broken down in smaller increments, but you can kind of see a lot goes on there too. And there's very little inventory there. So this 200 to 400 range is kind of the sweet spot of everything. And as you get higher in price point, you can see where the month's supply of inventory goes way higher, and it almost starts to become more of a balanced market or a buyer's market, where as a buyer buying a high-end house, you're actually in a more favorable position than if you are a seller in that situation. So just got to know the market numbers, the market data to understand how this fully works. You can also see that in days on market too, as far as how some of these higher price point homes are longer. The 150 to 200s, are 5 days on market, 7 days on market. It's very variable and nuanced and complicated. It's not crazy. I can break it down and make an understanding of it for you, which is what you hire me as an agent to do for you, is to interpret all this MLS, this data for you to make reasonable, sound decisions to move forward on. So let's see, price going up, as you're saying, days on market. So from 2022 is in the red, 2023 is in the green, 2024 is in the blue. You can see we're at an average days on market of 32 right now for entire market. So to think that your house is just going to go on the market, sell, is not the case. Even in these past years, you can see where it's been higher than that, but it just depends on what stat you're being told and how much they're skewing it. Because right now somebody could tell you the days on market is 8, but that's median, and that's just the middle is what that means. That's not necessarily the average, if you understand statistics and how they all work out. So I think average is more accurate to look at. But again, like you could look at national stats, local stats, but really what matters is your price point in your neighborhood. And I can show you the stats of that, but I got to do a much more selective deep dive for that to give you an idea of how fast your house should sell and for what. But this at least just gives you an idea of the overall market where it's at, depending on how nerdy and in-depth you want to get on this. We are seeing more listings come to the market, like I'm saying, not necessarily more houses selling though. We are seeing more people put their house on the market. Doesn't necessarily mean it is selling more though. So that's just something to take into account. Usually what I study is what closes, not necessarily what's listed, because there's a good amount of listings that go get listed and don't sell, and then the seller just keeps it and just stays there. So there's that to take into account. What else do I need to look at here? Part of the solution to this is you have to have a well-presented, well-kept house to actually have it sell. It needs to be marketed well, it needs to be photographed well, it needs to be advertised well. It needs to be proactively pursued. It needs to be understood the true value of your home, not just the sentimentality of it or your emotional bias around it, in order to actually get something to transact. Because I care about you, I care about your life story, everything else goes on with it. At the end of the day, the market doesn't, and the market isn't going to take a personal interest in you. They're just going to look at the numbers, the data, the facts. And I'd rather make decisions from there and plans from there than necessarily based on feelings or emotions. I love feelings and emotions. I deal with them a lot with myself, with clients, within my personal life. But at the end of the day, like feelings and emotions aren't really a good strategy for getting your house sold. Really, you got to look at the data and the science of it all. So we're able to combine both, but just take that into account with how's the market. Let's see, anything else pertinent to put in there? So again, that's what I was saying, more contracts being written. So it's kind of like people are fighting over the pretty house is what I'm saying, is what I'm seeing, you know, or they're pickier than ever. With quote unquote high interest rates, you know, people are more selective with what they're buying compared to what we are so spoiled by, you know, with lower interest rates. It's funny how quickly we go from, oh my gosh, this is awesome, to an expectation, kind of like free shipping. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing, free shipping. Now they expect free shipping and you're pissed if you don't get it. Nothing's free. There's always a cost to everything. And just understanding the numbers and the science of it all is what I'm really here to help you break down on everything. Full transparency, full disclosure, following all the rules, doing what we're supposed to. Which I'll get into that in a sec because some of the rules are changing. But yeah, average days of market, 30. So just because something hasn't sold right away doesn't mean there's necessarily something wrong with it. It just means you haven't bought it yet, or the right buyer hasn't come through yet. Because as you can see, the average days on market is a little bit longer, and it kind of comes down to how bad that seller wants to sell and how bad you know, the buyer wants to buy it. And so there's just a good amount of that cat and mouse game, I think, that's still going on with negotiating and buyers and sellers and everything that goes on there. So it's more important than ever to be in a secure, financial, stable position and not be overextending yourself, over leveraging, overbuying, you know, and to put yourself in a strong, stable place, which Wichita is a great market for that, with our culture and everything goes with it, plus our price points. But just make sure you're not being too risky and overextending yourself financially when it comes to buying or selling a house on everything. So make smart financial decisions combined with smart real estate decisions that go with all that. And then, you know, hopefully our aim is to be your client for, or your agent for life, and help guide you and advise you all the way through every house you buy and sell, because we're making smart purchase decisions. So when it comes time to sell it, it's not as hard of a selling situation because we made a smart buy, because you make money when you buy these things intelligently. So that's our local market. Number of sales down, price point up. More listings come to the market. So if you're looking to sell your house, a lot of times we already have a buyer for it, or we have a way to market it aggressively with some of our unique sales strategies and marketing solutions. So that is some of the solution to this whole thing. Check the value of your home on our website. There should be links below. And then in a lot of ways, we can have off-market buyers, off-market people we can bring to you ahead of time if your house matches the criteria we already know about. So that's kind of where we're putting together these marketing and sales systems to be a solution to this whole constipated, stagnated situation, because these commission lawsuits and rule changes are kind of leaving consumers even more confused. Same thing with agents, because if you don't know about it, NAR and a lot of other brokerages got sued by a class action lawsuit with a lot of attorneys who gathered a bunch of homeowners around a lot of things. And without getting too far into that, because I'm looking at how's the market, that has affected buyer sentiment, behavior, and things that go with it in an already uncertain, unstable situation. So especially with the way the headlines are reporting it very inaccurately, you know, commissions were always negotiable. They haven't been 6% for a long time. Honestly, they've been more like 4 and 5%. So I think it's silly that people think that it's at 6%. I think that's just being out of touch with reality and how things really work. It's always been negotiable. Everything's negotiable. It's just, I think, some of the way that they're changing the rules now we have to follow. But in a lot of ways, I think the consumer's going to hate it because, one, they're not going to know how much the buyer's agent commission is going to be offered. And then two, you're going to have to sign documents every time you want to see a house. And so in a lot of ways, these new rule changes, the consumers are going to hate, but it's being forced on us by the Department of Justice and these lawsuits and everything else that goes with it. So I don't really see who the winner is in these situations, since most homeowners really got like $50 a settlement. And so they didn't really get that much money. And I don't know how this really benefits the consumer, other than it just makes it more complicated, more confusing, more negotiable, even harder to accomplish what they're looking to accomplish. So with all of that, a lot of confusion leads to fear, fear leads to panic, and panic leads to paralysis. This is really where I'd say our market is at right now, and where a lot of agents are at right now. they're unsure how to proceed forward. They need quality leadership, which we're not getting. We're needing a clear direction and a straightforward answer and way to move forward, and a lot of them aren't getting it. So that's where we're seeing that, not just from agents, but then also from consumers. And you have a lot of people kind of hesitating and waiting and not doing anything, and that leads to the stagnated, stagflated, whatever you want to call it, constipated market, where everybody's just kind of sitting there waiting and seeing, which doesn't really do anything. So, but most people do think it's a good idea to have an agent to help them buy a house. You know, there's a select few that say buying a house is not something you need an agent for. There's always going to be the DIY market, just like there is as a contractor with construction work, remodeling work. You can do some stuff yourself on your house, but then other bigger, larger projects, you know, you're going to either want to or have to hire a licensed contractor to work on your house or to do so. And it's usually in your best interest to do so. That's kind of where real estate agents are starting to become. Is there might be a few more DIY products out there, kind of like for sub owners always been an option. You might be able to buy a house yourself, but do you really want to? And is it in your best interest? I think is a arguable point. You could always go straight to the listing agent, but then you don't get representation. You don't necessarily get a price break deal on that. You're really not getting anything extra or better by doing that. So most people agree it'd be very stressful to navigate home buying without an agent or broker, and it's 87% think it's vital and trusted. So it's like it's not like real estate agents are going away. It's just a matter of how we operate is going to look differently. And for a lot of consumers, I think they're not entirely going to be a big fan of the process, and it's going to be a lot more professionally oriented situation where we sign agency, we agree to work with each other, and it's not going to be quite as easy. Hey, I just want to go see this house. Like, I wish we could do it that way, but it sounds like they're putting a stop to that, to just be like, nope, sorry, you got to sign agency, you got to sign docs, you got to do all these things in order to move forward. We have some solutions, some workarounds for all that. We're still trying to wait to see exactly how the rulings are going to come out, but obviously it is affecting agents, which is affecting consumers, which is affecting the market, which is why I bring it up. To say it's not going to, I think is kind of foolish, because you're already seeing the stats of the market being affected, and you have to look at the causes of that. And that is one of them that comes with it. It's not the only one, but it's one of them. So will inventory improve? Yes, we're already seeing more inventory come to the market, but just because you're seeing more inventory to the market doesn't mean more buyers are buying the inventory to the market, because you do need to see buyers buying houses, not just listing houses, because if you list it and nobody buys it, you don't have a transaction and you don't have a sale, and it doesn't really matter. It's kind of a lot of wasted effort that goes with it all. A change in inventory, Kansas, we've seen 16% increase. Texas has seen 30%. But you're seeing some of these states get constricted, like Nevada has been real bad at negative 26%. Same with Illinois, New York, Florida, we've seen a giant uptick, and a lot of that is because people are moving out of there because of insurance rates are going through the roof. Insurance carriers are either dropping them completely, or the cost of the insurance is so high that the property insurance costs more than their mortgage. And so they're like, I'm out of here. Like, I'm leaving Florida because insurance just went astronomical and the prices are high and somebody's going to pay it. So I'm going to put it out there. So Florida is one wild territory, especially when it comes to some of this commission stuff going on and how bad some of the buyers agents are down there from what I've heard. So as an owner who also sells houses, lists houses, you know, is a consumer myself, I kind of see why these changes are coming, and I don't entirely disagree with them. I do still think there's ethical, good ways to operate as an agent, and it can be a good lifestyle and a good business if you choose to operate it that way. But I do kind of understand why these changes are coming about. And I think good, honest, ethical, service-based professions and businesses are still going to do well, but it's kind of the door openers, order processors, bare bones type of people that are still charging full rates is starting to get weeded out in the industry. And a lot of us are okay with that, to be honest with you, like consumers and agents all together. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Still pretty early, but at least here's the data for active listings coming to the market and what's going on there. Don't want to bore you to death with all this. If you guys want this data, let me know. I can send it to you. So people still think it's a good time to sell. The biggest battle, what we're fighting right now, is mortgage rates and rental rates, is what I would say. So the Federal Reserve said they're going to drop the interest rate and then they didn't. But really, I would expect this thing to maintain for the rest of the year. So I don't see rates really changing that much for the rest of the year. You can listen to the speculation of the headlines and everything else, but I personally don't think they're really going to. And here's the other thing is if rates do drop, prices go up. So this is the battle that we're constantly fighting with rates and home prices. Rates go down, prices go up. But it isn't necessarily rates go up, prices go down. It isn't just a fixed cause like that. Just rates go up, prices still stay there. Houses just sit on the market longer. People hold on to them. People don't move. Things don't happen. It doesn't mean prices drop. Like, so that's what we're really seeing is that prices, as you just saw from our local MLS, even though rates are higher than they have been, prices are still up. So number of sales is down, but the price is still up. So because we have a higher interest rate, we just have a slower moving market with less transactions going. But if the rates do drop, then prices go up because we have more buyers coming in. We have more people buying houses and things speeds up with all of that. But a piece of it is just understanding how our economy and cash machine works of a market is the Fed, the government, the country was really selling money at a cheap rate. And now they got to make their money back for how much they're selling it. And you're seeing it across the board everywhere for inflation, not just in real estate. You have both shrinkflation and regular inflation where the cost of things are going up or you're getting less for what you're paying for. You know, and obviously all of that goes into buying a house and everything goes with it because our country is ran on credit and is ran on currency and cash, and you got to pay attention to the cash, follow the money, and you'll make sense of it all. And that's what we're going on here. But at the end of the day, like if it makes sense for your lifestyle reason and your time of life to buy a house, it makes sense to still do so and invest more so than renting. If you make smart purchase decisions where you can see opportunity to exchange and maybe add some value, improve some houses, buy a good area, there is still appreciation in the market. It's still a good, safe, stable place to put your market in. And if for whatever reason we go to war and all these other crazy things happen, that does nothing more than helps our country a lot of times. Creates jobs, creates opportunity. It usually makes people scared, so they go to the safe thing, which is real estate. Just like they did in COVID, not only was money cheap, but the world was falling apart. So people went and bought the safest thing they could think of, which was they bought a house, but really they bought into the US. They bought a piece of the US territory, which was appreciating. And I can show you where pockets of that appreciate more than others in our local city, but that's the overall concept of what you're really buying into is the country and why it's such a federally, nationally, locally, statewide regulated profession of being a real estate agent, because really you're selling the whole US country plus that territory and everything goes with it. But that's another sidebar. So housing demand's been on steady rise due to population job growth. Because the thing is, like, affordability is still historically low with everything. Wages overall have increased. I can't speak to your specific individual situation, but we can see wages climbing at a higher pace than anything else. So people are getting paid more, even though things are costing more. Overall, people are getting paid more. So with that, they can afford more house because they're getting paid more. This gives you an idea where the home price forecasts are going to be. We'll see on all those because you know how forecasts go. But this is my biggest thing, is having a relevant market opinion based on facts and data. Don't look at the headlines. Don't listen to your friends, your family, all your emotional hearsay, all the BS. Look at the numbers, look at the data, make relevant, logical sense of it. I'll handle your emotions around the things that go with it. But emotions are not a good place to put financial strategies and real estate strategies in place. I'll help you handle and deal with your emotions around all this stuff, but really we got to look at the data and the facts and the stats that can't be argued. And I'll help you to interpret it all, but we really got to have a relevant market opinion based on the facts, like I was saying there. So this is the big debate right now. Is it cheaper to rent? Is it cheaper to buy? So this is where it's an easy way to understand this. Home prices always increase before rental prices because rental prices are trapped by a lease. So if the landlord could raise the rent prices on you right away, he would, but he has to wait for that lease to expire to increase the rent for you to pay more. So that's why rental rates always trail purchase price, because purchase price can fluctuate and move faster than rental prices can. Rental prices are typically bound by longer term leases. So as purchase price goes up, investors, landlords are smart. They see that and they go buyers are buying this for houses, I'm gonna raise the rent too, because obviously if they can afford a house like that, they can afford higher rent too. And so they respond to that in the market, but it takes a while for those leases to expire and for them to renew and raise the rents for rental prices to catch up. So even though mortgage and home prices went higher, rental rates are coming up too, but they always trail purchase price because of that dynamic of the lease that it's fixed into, it's caught into. Then when the lease expires, it comes time to renew. You're going to get hit with the rental price increase most of the time. It says, hey, here's your new rent rate. Here's the new thing. You can either pay it or get out, is what we're seeing. So that's kind of what we're seeing there on that. So I just had a negotiation come through. And yeah, that gives you an idea of purchase price and rental rates. To give you an idea of what your potential gain is over 5 years, if you purchase $400,000 home, gives you an idea, not just the appreciation that goes with it. The other thing to take into account is your forced storage savings plan, paying towards principal. So really you can look at how this is a good storage of your cash and your ability to build wealth. There are different ways you can invest, better ways to invest, but you got to have somewhere to live, and houses are pretty cool and they're fun. Yes, you have to maintain them. There's costs go with them. But at the end of the day, like, life's not all entirely about money, and think about all the memories, the lifestyles, like everything you think of your house. Like, it's a very big, important part of your life that goes with this thing. Anyway, so there's equity, home appreciation, cost of buying. What else we need to go in here? So right now it's a battle out here for agents. I'll be honest with you guys, and the character going on right now, like, I think the world is stressed. Everybody's maxed out, like they're trying to make it, including real estate agents. Plus you have the industry getting attacked. Like, it's kind of Hunger Games right now for your agents out there. And the strong will survive, but I think a good amount will just get out of the industry, just quit real estate altogether, go back to a normal stable job, maybe do real estate on the side. But it's rough out there, I guess, is what I'm getting at for that. So hug your real estate agent, the good ones, love them. There's a lot that they do from a service provider, small local business, self-employed standpoint, working nights, working weekends, working overtime, on an independent contractor paycheck that I don't think is always fully understood and appreciated with how much most agents really do, for their clients, for their market, for their community. And right now, I think the character of everyone's really getting tested and resolved, which in some ways is good, because that's where it's built, is when the things that you do in the hard times show up in the good times too. So that's all I got for everything. I'm going to leave it at that. Hopefully this is helpful for you to understand the Wichita market, how things are going on from a national perspective, local perspective, and then your individual perspective. Feel free to watch some of my other videos on Wichita, market data, stats, all those fun things. Hopefully I can talk with you at some point, help you out in your specific strategic situation, and we'll see you later. Peace.